So a couple of weeks ago, Matt, I went to the cinema, and I know you're going to say what was it, but let's not get into that. It was the Elton John film, and they played a trailer for this film. It was another reboot of The Grudge, which is I think it's the third or fourth remake since I've been alive. I'm 107. The trailer looked really good, but at the end of the day, it seemed like, but it's just going to be the same old pile of shit. That reminds me a lot of Bray Wyatt. To me, you can repackage him and reboot his look and give him all the promos and do all this, but at the end of the day, he's not a great wrestler. So, what's your take on the fact that Bray Wyatt seems to be the new big character, despite the fact that the in ring results aren't so great?
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that. I think he's got a unique.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not. I think he's got a unique style. I think the fact that he has a very physical style, but he's very big. He can move very quickly. And over the last 4 or 5 years, he's kind of adopted his psychological, whatever, the walking backwards and the tapping your foot in the corner of the ring. I don't necessarily agree that I think it's terrible. I just think with the Fiend, I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm not sure exactly what people are so excited about because I don't think there's a lot of depth in the character. I'm not sure how long it could last. I'm not sure if it's got the staying power once it's out once or twice. They're smart not to bring it out more than once every couple months or so. But I think Bray has really suffered from bad booking more than anything else. I think him beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania a few years ago probably was the right move, or him beating John Cena a couple years ago at WrestleMania was probably the right move. The fact that he's booked even Steven for years and years and years makes fans like you and me say, well, there's nothing special about him. And then for us, who've been watching wrestling for a long time, for generations, you throw a mask on him and we're just very cynical. We say, okay, that's no good. But I think there's something there to Bray Wyatt. I always have. I think he's a good promo. I just think the booking has been god awful. And I'm not so sure the booking now is any better because now he's got a guy who can shake off 11 or 12 curb stomps. And now he's facing Daniel Bryan. So why would anybody care about Daniel Bryan facing him?
yeah. What do you think about this idea for Bray Wyatt? It's just come to me there. Well, obviously, a lot of people don't like the red light shit, and it is weird that WWE would spend all this money and time on production to then not show it. But what about the fact that the red light only came on when Bray Wyatt's on a fence?
It's the weirdest thing, right? Like, I think what they're trying to say, right? If I'm guessing, is that when Bray Wyatt's out there, everything's different. When the Fiend is out there, there's no rules. It's a parallel universe. No one knows what's going to happen. But aesthetically, it just looks shitty, right? Aesthetically, it doesn't work. It's not bright enough. The effect you want to get from it being so different and spooky and creepy and weird is offset by the fact that it's visually so unappealing. It reminds me a lot of when they tried to do the superimposition of the bugs and the worms and the spiders during the Randy Orton match. I understand what the thought was. Like, I totally get what they were trying to do, but the effect was outweighed by the visual kind of bad optics of it.
Yeah, because for me, it reminds me of this famous Batman comic where, and I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was a Frank Miller one, but where the Joker, for like one page of the comic, just had a momentary lapse of sanity. And it's like he dropped a smile and his eyes went back to normal and he's like, what am I doing to these people? What have I done? And then it's just like he shook himself and came back to the crazy eyes and was like, ah! Like, that's the sort of shit I want from Bray.
Yeah, like a moment of clarity, a deepness of character. And I think that's what attracted people initially to this Firefly Funhouse. I didn't like it at all from the beginning. I thought it was pretty easy to see that they hadn't really given a lot of thought to it, that it didn't have the nuance. Like you said, one panel of one comic has one moment of clarity, and maybe that's a breadcrumb for something else that happens later on. We're not getting any of that. We're just getting beaten over the head with stuff. The rabbit dies, the rabbit's alive, the rabbit dies, the rabbit's alive. Bray's good when he's in the funhouse, he's bad when he's outside the funhouse. But there's nothing really intriguing, clever, or compelling any more layers of the onion to peel back. It's just hitting you over the head with kind of simpleness.
And by the way, if anyone's listening, superheroes are real, and anyone who says differently is a liar.
Oh, absolutely. It's great now because I work with teens, I work with kids, and they're all into superheroes and the MCU and all that. When I was a kid, it wasn't cool to like comics. It was a lot like wrestling, right? It was very, it wasn't something you shared or talked about. It was just something you did. And so now the fact that comics and superheroes are very mainstream now and something that's acceptable and cool, I like a lot. And I think it's just part of this nerd culture that is kind of taken over. I think it's a good thing.